and this is a match I'll never forget. It almost made me want to quit playing Miraidon completely. Hey, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be doing my tournament report for the Louisville, Kentucky Pokemon TCG Regional Tournament. Now, I was feeling a little under the weather. I just had this like weird annoying cough that wouldn't go away, and so that kind of stopped me from really wanting to vlog the whole event. But I did get to meet a ton of you guys there. I got to take a bunch of selfies, got to sign a bunch of cards, and just got to have a bunch of cool conversations with a bunch of people in the community. So shout out to everybody who said hi, showed some love. I really appreciated it. With that said, we're going to quickly announce the winners for a couple of giveaways. We recently ran a giveaway for these Charizard cards, or Charmander, Charmeleon, and Charizard for the premium collection box. So congratulations to the winner on screen right now. And then we also did a giveaway for the Houndstone Greavard stuff here as well. So the winner for that is on screen as well. So just shoot me an email to claim your prize if you're the winner. Today we're going to do a giveaway as well. So hit that like button down below and comment what deck this Iono would go into. It's the Playstamp Iono from Series 4/5, so one lucky person's gonna get this shipped to them. What deck did I play at the Louisville Regionals? Well, if you follow me on social media, SneakerTalk TCG or SneakerTalk CA, you would know I was playing Miraidon EX with my Regieleki sauce in there as well. Here's a look at my 60 card list that we played for the tournament. We did do a very in-depth deck profile video on this deck, or pretty much most of this deck, on my channel already, so I'll leave it linked down below if you want to learn about Miraidon. It's a really strong deck, but of course your luck, your RNG is heavily intertwined with the electric generators, and we're going to talk about those electric generators at some point in the video. Now, I do have some cool Miraidon list I am cooking up over the next couple of weeks, including Miraidon Terapagos EX, but we do have Surging Sparks releasing pretty soon too, so we're going to see how Miraidon pairs with the new Pikachu EX, and just how all these other new decks get affected by the Surging Sparks cards. Hello, Rosie. Hello. Hello. How are you today? Huh? How are you today? Now that we said hi to Rosie, let's talk about the matchups. So, round number 1, we played against Taylor I from the US, and they were playing a Dragapult EX. The Miraidon into Dragapult EX matchup can be a little sketchy at times because they're just able to do some big board wipe attacks on you. The main game plan into this matchup is we go amp you very much at least once or twice, and then try and close it off, or close up the match, taking out like a 2-price Pokemon like a Lumineon or a Pidgeot or a Pheasantipity. I actually have like notes for all my matches over here on my phone, so if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes, but I tried to remember as much as I could. Game 1 was super close. I ended up actually doing a really, I wasn't able to get the amp you very much off play, but I was able to amp you very much a Pidgeot EX at some point of the game, which was pretty satisfying. This game was super close and I just wasn't able to close it out in the end. However, I would have won if I wasn't a nice Canadian at a regionals. You could say I messed up because I allowed my opponent to, well, you know, avoid a DPL. They played Nest Ball when they had a full bench. They forgot because they had just lost their Terra-type Pokemon, the Dragapult, on their board, so they were used to having a larger board for a little bit, and so they played Nest Ball. They weren't able to. They did a deck search, and I was like, I didn't bother calling a judge because I was pretty sure they had it. I didn't want to be that guy winning off a DPL like that, but I think honestly in the future I really should, especially at regional events. There was one notable misplay I made in this matchup which definitely punished me later on into the game because it allowed them to get the supporters they needed to close out the game. I had Lost Vacuum in hand and they had the escape board on their Tatsugiri. They had it on there all game, and there was a turn where I could have just Lost Vacuumed it away, and I just chose not to. And then the following turn, they hit me with an Iono, so my Lost Vacuum went to the bottom, not to be seen again for quite some time. To make matters worse, later on in the game, I didn't do a thorough prize search, or I was just like in my head about that Lost Vacuum mishaps that I really needed that late game Lumineon to close out on him. However, when I played Lumineon and I looked through my deck, I realized, I prized my my Iono, my one copy of Iono. So that was another painful misplay where I definitely got punished. Later into the game, he was able to grab Crispin off the Tatsugiri and just retreat for free because he had the escape board on it. And yeah, that was really punishing. Game number 2 was nowhere near as close as the first game. However, I did make a really silly misplay that got me punished, and I felt so dumb after. I played Heavy Ball, and I was at the point where their Dragapult EX, the board was full. The board was full, okay? And my Raikou was swinging, and it swung for, I believe, 310 damage. I was 10 damage short of knocking out the Dragapult EX. And I would have been able to knock out the Dragapult EX if I used my Heavy Ball for the Zapdos and the prizes. But instead, for whatever reason, I valued the draw power of Greninja a little bit more. So I grabbed the Greninja instead. Therefore, I was 10 damage short of knocking out the Dragapult EX. So, some reckless misplays in the first round. You know, I'm going to blame my lack of caffeine. Starting off this tournament 0-1, and you guys know this tournament structure is very unforgiving. Going on to round number 2, it was another blunder. We played against Snorlax Control. We played against Evelyn Estridge, and I did not realize what shirt they were wearing. So I look at my opening hand in this matchup, and I see Squawkabilly and Regieleki. Typically, I'll play Squawk as my opening start, especially going second, so I can try and, you know, hide what deck I'm playing. Little did I know, if I had looked up, I would have realized my opponent Evelyn was wearing a t-shirt with a Snorlax image, like a big Snorlax image, and it said "No Retreat." And sure enough, when they flip over their card, they revealed a Snorlax, and I felt so dumb. I was like, I could have just started Regieleki. Had I looked at their shirt, I probably would have played the Regieleki. So the Snorlax Control matchup isn't too horrible for my version of Miraidon, because we do have the extra help of attackers like Zeraora to swing into the Mimikyu along with the Zapdos. We also have the Regieleki V as well that can also swing and switch, but it can also attack the Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon when it does come up at times. And game number 1, I scooped as soon as my opponent Evelyn milled my 2 switch cards, and I had already used my Prime Catcher, so I was just out of ways to retreat. And you do not want to waste time against Snorlax Control. Every minute, every action counts. So I scooped it up as soon as I saw I had no more win condition available. And then going into game number 2, I was able to pop off really well and take that in a couple of turns, so that felt really good. And then going into game number 3, Evelyn offered a gentleman's agreement, and after I got screwed over in Baltimore, I was like, I'm not even waste my time with any gentleman's agreement. We're just gonna play it out. And so that we did, and we ended up just getting a tie. So now we are 0 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie. And at this point of the tournament, for me to qualify for day 2, I have to win every single round, no ties allowed. And for that matter too, if I wanted to make it into top 8 cut, or just top cut in general, I would also have to win every single round without getting a single tie, because the second tie would just knock me out of contention for top cut. So I was feeling really bummed out, man. You know, starting off a regional with 1 loss and 1 tie is never a good feeling. We played against Abigail on Loyal 3, and my deck was, it was not functioning for the most part for the opening turns. So this was a really weird game that we played. I believe I won the coin toss and chose to go second, and I almost completely whiffed everything. It was bad. So I did my typical setup. I did a whole bunch of thinning and everything, and we managed to play all 4 electric generators on my very first turn. Now, the big thing here was I needed to hit these generators, because if you whiffed all these generators, I pretty much lose the game. I played 1 generator, whiffed it, no energies. Played a 2nd generator, whiffed it, no energies. Played a 3rd generator, whiffed it, no energies. Going on to my 4th, this was all or nothing. So I play my electric generator, and the first 2 cards on the top of the deck was 2 lightning energies. So we went whoop whoop, and then attach, and then Prime Catcher, swing to the Fez, knock it out, and I was very happy about that. She proceeded to play Night Stretcher, bring back the Fez, draw 3, and they weren't able to do anything at all. They didn't get a supporter. They were able to attach to the Ogie Dogie. On my turn, I was able to do my switch card shenanigans and swing into the Ogie Dogie, and then the Ogie Dogie died during Pokemon Checkup, so the Fezzinipity didn't have to get activated. And then I did the last knockout, so we managed to do a clean sweep with just 1 single Miraidon, putting in all the work for that game 1. Going into game 2, my opponent chose second, I believe. This time, we managed to get full setup, but all of my generators were cooking, they were hitting, and it just felt amazing. That deck was working flawlessly. I felt bad that she didn't get to really play the game too much. My deck just ran hot. Now, Abigail is a dark type trainer, and I've been cooking my Arbok EX deck pretty thoroughly, and so after the match was done, I shared her my Arbok EX list, so hopefully Abigail can have some fun with some other dark decks going forward, but Loyal 3 just was not it for that tournament. So our record going into round number 4 is 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 tie. Round number 4, we played against Regidrago V-Star. Now, Regidrago V-Star is a matchup I really enjoy. We're definitely favored into it, especially with the help of Regilucky VMAX. So going into game 1, I lost the coin toss, and my opponent chose to go first, which is what you typically always do as Regidrago. And my electric generators were not cooking at all. I played 2 or 3 on the first turn and whiffed 2 of them just completely. And then the third one was able to hit. However, I made a small misplay where I didn't bring out my Zapdos with my Miraidon's tandem unit, and so I would have been able to 1-hit KO their Hoot. A lot of Regidragos are starting to play a 1-1 like Hoot and Noctowl line, and so I would have been able to just boss up the Hoot and swing into it for knockout 40 times 2, and I didn't. So yeah, on the following turns, they proceeded to evolve into Noctowl and just start cooking me alive. It was really bad. So after my opponent, Rich Walter, after he took the first 2 prizes, I looked at my hand and it was like, you know what? I don't think I can salvage this. Let's just scoop it up and pack it up. That way we have more time for game 2 and game 3. Going on to game number 2. So Miraidon, you guys know, typically Miraidon likes to go second so they can do the turn 1 donk with either Raikou, or they do some Amp You Very Much shenanigans. However, in the Regidrago matchup, especially because we have Regilucky VMAX in our build, we actually don't mind taking first from them, and we kind of prefer it, because if we go first, we're absolutely guaranteed to take a 2-prize knockout to start off the prize trade on something like a Teal Mask Ogerpon, or ideally Prime Catcher up a Regidrago V, one that already has some energies on it charged up. And so we chose to go first for the game number 2. Everything went according to plan. I did my proper setup, my rollout, and then they only started with 1 Regidrago V. No second one. So I was like, yes, plan A, it worked. I don't have to do a plan B. And we just knocked out the Regidrago V on my first turn of attacking, and then we knocked out a Teal Mask on the following turn, and they just packed it up after that because they had nothing else going for them. Going into game number 3, my opponent didn't have the greatest setup. They were able to get 1 Drago V on the board, 1 Squawkabilly, a Pheasantipity, and that was it. No Teal Mask saw any grass energies. No dancing was going down. My turn going second, I was able to hit a generator for 1 energy. I think I played 2 generators and I only hit 1 energy in total, so I had to go for this Raikou attack. Now, I had boss's orders in hand, so I had the option to either boss Gust the Squawkabilly and take the knockout, or I can boss up the Regidrago and just punch it for 160. Now, I decided, because if I'm going to take out the Squawk, that's going to activate Pheasantipity, and I don't want to activate Pheasantipity because my board wasn't that well set up either, and I didn't really have my next attackers lined up. So I went for this alternative line, which I was very happy and proud of foreseeing. I instead bossed up the Drago V, punched it for 160, leaving my opponent with a 2-card hand, which was just 2 energy switches. Because it didn't start the prize trade, they weren't able to use Pheasantipity to draw some more cards, and they weren't able to, properly set up that way. So going into his turn, he couldn't do anything at all. He just attached and passed. And so back to my turn, I was able to attack this lone Drago V in the active, and not even have to see a V-Star for that match. I was able to keep the pressure on and take all 6 prizes. That's how it goes sometimes, and I was very happy with how I played that matchup, trying to big brain it, not going too tunnel vision on starting the prize trade, and going for these alternate win lines, you know? So going into round 5, we are now 2 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie. In round 5, we played against Corey M, and he was the first Lugia of the day. After my blunder at the North American International Championships, where I lost to back-to-back Lugias,
Bruh.
I was like, I'm locking in. I'm not going to make a single misplay. We're not going to embarrass myself this time around. Game number 1, I lost the coin toss, and Corey chose to go first. And on my opening turn, it was insane. I flooded my board exactly how I wanted to with all my Pokemon. I started the prize trade taking the 2 prize Pokemon off the board, and I forced Corey's hand. He was only able to set up 1 Archeops for that game, and yeah, we cooked him. Going into game 2, he chose to go first, and this time Corey started Blood Moon Ursaluna EX. Now, my start was insane. It was super hot. I set up perfectly, and I was playing it pretty risky. I was gambling. I was going all in on this turn. I did as much as I could, and I even went as far as playing a Luminion after I had already played Arven, so I could thin out an extra supporter out of my deck, because my generators, I needed them to hit. Like, I really needed to extend my lead taking that first 2 prizes, and that's what I did. We hit 1 off the generator, so we were able to attack with our Raikou V into one of their Pokemon and start the prize trade. We just managed to win against Lugia V-Star 2-0. Pretty simple, pretty clean-cut game. Didn't do anything too crazy in this matchup. Just made sure to play perfectly, and that's what I did. And the generators, well, I had to do some extra thinning for those, but yeah, they hit, and I did everything in my power to try and make them hit too. Going into round 6, we played against Brian Lyons, our first Raging Bolt EX opponent of the day. And real quick, also shout out to his son, Owen Lyons. So going into this round, I was feeling very happy, very confident after beating the Lugia V-Star player 2-0, and so I sat down at the table, and my opponent Brian was late. He was late because he's a Poke parent and he was attending to his son in the juniors division, and so he was running to the table and he got there in time. So it got to the point where I didn't get a free game win. However, because Brian was late, if we were to go to a tie, I would just automatically win. But luckily, they never ended up having to take place. So the Raging Bull matchup, I want to say I'm favored into it because of my Regieleki VMAX technology. It allows me to hit that nice 240, 250 number with a little less struggle compared to other Miraidon decks out there. And yeah, the Regieleki VMAX really paid off in this matchup. Game number 1, I ended up turn 1 donking him with a Raikou or Miraidon, but whatever Pokemon it was just a turn 1 donk, so winning that coin toss was really big. Game 2 was way closer than game 1. No donking took place for this one, and so Brian ended up taking the game number 2. And then game number 3 was a really close back and forth. This time I chose to go second because of course you always want to go second against Raging Bolt to deny them doing that turn 1 donk. I've been on the receiving end of that, and that does not feel good. And this one was really close. We were like trading Pokemon back and forth the entire time. My generators were cooking and he was hitting what he needed off of cards like Pokegear and Pokestop, and so we were having a really fun time playing it all out. But by the very end of the game, I was able to close it out with the big Raikou V attack getting boosted by my Regieleki VMAX. So GG's to the homie Brian. So going into round number 7, we are now 4 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie. We needed to win these next 2 to get into day number 2. My opponent for round number 7 was probably the toughest opponent I had all day. I had not looked at like Limitless pages for anybody all day, but going into round 7, I was like, this is probably going to be a really stressful matchup, and we had some time to kill. So I found out my opponent was Dan Irish, and when I saw his Limitless page, I was like, dang, this guy's pretty cracked out. He knew who I was because when we got to the table, he won the coin toss and he chose to go second. Usually you don't go second, but he was playing Palkia Dusknoir and he didn't want to allow me to go for the donk plays on him. Now Palkia Dusknoir has Greninja EX. Now this card, I've talked about it previously, way back like during the Orlando regionals. I was scared because Greninja EX is a very scary card. It can dominate the Miraidon matchup if they get it evolved and set up. Going into game 1, oh man, there's so much that took place. I was making a lot of sloppy misplays. One thing I can tell you is I made the most amount of misplays I possibly could against anybody in this match against Dan. Game number 1, it came down to the wire. It was pretty close, and it came down to him getting a DPL, and that DPL was what helped me get the win in the end. So there was a turn where I benched my Fez and I did all my actions. I completely forgot to use Flip the Script. So we're swinging into the Greninja EX, and so we swing with my Zeraora for like 70 damage to try and soften it up for a larger attack with like Raikou or Miraidon later on, right? So I swing into his Greninja with Zeraora. I was like, oh crap, I forgot the Fez. Oh well. And then he starts his turn, he benches Fez and goes Flip the Script. And I was like, oh, but before I could stop him, he already drew the card for Flip the Script. And I was like, in my head, I was like, yes, let's go. I can win it now because he's going to get a DPL. So I had to do the judge call. We got the judge call, we got an extension, and he got a DPL for using Flip the Script when I never knocked out a Pokemon. Because of that DPL, I was able to make up for my very bad misplays in game 1 and basically win it because I just needed to take one more 2-prize knockout on the Fez. Ironically, the Fez was the last card I knocked out to close out that game 1. Now going into game 2, I fumbled, I overthought, and I did too much. I was able to get Prime Catcher, and I had like every opportunity possible to knock out the Froakie before it evolved. However, I tunnel visioned on the Palkia V, and I had Prime Catcher. My opponent even knew I had Prime Catcher because I Arven for it. And I played Bundle, and he gave me the Palkia, because you're always going to give the Pokemon you don't want to get knocked out. However, I'm like, maybe there's some mind games going on, you know? So I overcooked, and I chose to knock out the Palkia V.
Bruh.
And he set up the Greninja. And basically, the deck is insane. Like, the deck is so insane. I've actually started playing Palkia Greninja Dusknoir now myself, just because I got destroyed by it. Basically, Game 2 and Game 3, every time I could have KO'd the Froakie, tunnel vision on the Palkia, and I deserved to lose. My misplays were just really punishing myself, and I felt so dumb. I felt so dumb after that matchup, because I totally would have been able to win if I just did all the correct lines. I had all the cards I needed at like all the right times, but my brain went mush, and so we lost to Dan Irish in round number 7, meaning that our chances of our way to qualify for day 2 is completely over. So going into round number 8, if we were to win this, I believe we would be able to get some prizing, some I think like 16 or 8 booster packs, something like that. So there was a little bit on the line, but going into it, you know, going into that last round, everybody's going to be chill around you, because everybody at those tables had just gotten knocked out of day 2, so everyone's like in their feels a little bit. In round 8, we played against Edgar Garcia, and just like we did to start off the tournament playing against Dragapult, Edgar was also on Dragapult as well to close out the tournament. So a fun way to, you know, bookend the round 8, the tournament with Dragapult EX. This is a match I'll never forget. It almost made me want to quit playing Miraidon completely. So game 1, Edgar won the coin toss and chose to go first, which you typically do with Dragapult, and he went attach, pass onto his Manaphy. And so on my turn, I look at my hand, I'm like, this is an S tier hand, you love to see it. I don't even have to like do Seal Stone or do Arvin, I don't have to do anything special. I just have to, I had Zero Aura in the active, I just have to bench my Miraidon, play a generator, hit it 1, and then attach return, and then you win, because you just swing into the Manaphy for knockout, and that's what I did. So we turn 1 donked Edgar for game number 1. Game number 2 and game number 3, this is where things flip on its head completely in terms of luck. Now, I can't really remember all the small plays and everything that took place during this matchup, because there was a lot of thinning, and I did as much as I could for both game 2 and game 3. And if it wasn't obvious, I had lost game 2, that's why there's a game 3. I played 4 electric generators in game 2, and I hit 1 lightning energy in total. I did so much thinning in my deck. If my deck was like 22 cards, like at least half of them was still energies. Still whiffing, painful. Game number 3 goes down, and I find out I have 3 electric generators in deck, and my 4th one is in the prizes. So my turn 1, again, I was able to play 3 generators on my turn 1, and I hit 0 energies in total. So after I whiffed my 3rd and final generator I had access to, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna scoop it up. Let's pack it up, let's call it a day. And that's how it went. Yikes. 4 wins, 3 losses, and 1 tie. We got 579th out of 1,938 players. I just signed up for the Toronto Regionals last night, so expect to see me at the Toronto Regionals in December, I believe. And yeah, just if you want to hang out some more, hit the like button, watch another video.
Hello, Rosie. Hello. Hello. How are you today? Huh? How are you today?